Okay, everybody. It's Wednesday, my dudes and dudettes. It's good to see you. I'm Emerson Lotzia, doing fantastically well this morning. This show, DraftKings show, it's called The Sweat. It's close to spectacular because we'll recap an improbable championship here for the Braves and who's favored next season, plus who to stuff in your NBA, NHL, and PGA lineups. Speaking of dudes who can roll a good meatball, how about this? A couple of our NFL panel DraftKings contributors, Jeff Ulrich, Griot T. Fowler. Peach Dietrich is here as well. Gentlemen, we have some breaking news. Aaron Rodgers reportedly testing positive for COVID-19. This news coming down moments ago. He will miss Sunday's game versus the Chiefs. Sweet T. Fowler, your immediate reaction to this, and whose fantasy value was impacted the most here?
Well, I mean, obviously all managers who have Aaron Rodgers. Look, if you're a fantasy manager, and this is feasible out there, who had Derrick Henry, who had Calvin Ridley, and potentially Aaron Rodgers, you are in a world of hurt this week. But this specifically, Devontae Adams is still not off the reserve COVID-19 list. He has to test negative 2 times 24 hours apart, negatively, right? So he should be off that list. But it's going to be a downgrade for all pass catchers, right? This is probably going to look a lot like what we saw on Thursday. A lot of A.J. Dillon and a ton of Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones is in for another big week. Jordan Love, look, could he do the Cooper Rush? Could he do like all the Geno Smith, the backups like last week? Probably not. But the Chiefs defense is bad. I think it's a downgrade for pass catchers, upgrade obviously for the running backs.
Jeff, tell me why you're rostering Jordan Love now at $4,400.
Oh, I'm excited to see this play out. I mean, the Packers management have nowhere to hide this week. This is it. This is the guy you chose in the first round over a wide receiver, prime national TV, big game, Chiefs, Packers. He's going to be out there. So yeah, this stinks from the perspective of the Packers. This was going to be a fun game. I was ready to smash the over, put on my over hat, 65 points, whatever. We can't do that now, unfortunately, but we do get to see Jordan Love. And we do get to see how this guy is going to perform in like a big stage against a really bad defense. So really happy for the Packers management. They got their guy out there finally. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers probably just going to be sitting at home and watching as an interested spectator too. I will say this, Packers futures Super Bowl. Get on it after they lose to the Chiefs this week.
Wow, 53.5. That was one of the highest totals on the DK Sportsbook. It's now off the board. Pierce, how big of a break did the Chiefs just catch here?
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a break for the Chiefs. They now have a chance. I didn't think they had a chance at all with that defense and the way that offense is playing. But I don't know. I think everything is fine here for Green Bay. I wouldn't fault anyone for playing any of these guys. Just give them a chance. Roll them out there. You're going to get really low ownership on these receivers, on these running backs. I know it's a bit of a downgrade, but it's still a pretty good offense. And it's just like Reed mentioned, Chiefs defense is terrible. Why not continue to attack here? I mean, we saw Washington do halfway decent against them. We've seen other inferior opponents move the ball. I think Green Bay is going to be all right.
All right, guys, let's look around elsewhere now. Week 9 NFL, some game totals. You going over or under the following game totals on the DraftKings Sportsbook? Let's start with tomorrow night. Let's start with Thursday. Jets at the Colts. 46 points. Which way you leaning, Fowler?
I'm going under. I do look, the Jets put up their Super Bowl. That's what they did, right? They beat the Cincinnati team that was essentially crowned the best AFC team after their win. But this, come on, guys. This is not going to be even close. Indy is a much better defense from the start of the season to where they are now. Look, the Cincinnati Bengals defense was strong, but I have the Jets probably being 18 points or less. And if you're the Colts, you're going to hand the rock off to Jonathan Taylor a lot. Carson Wentz, he's been playing well, but we saw the old Carson Wentz, vintage Wentz, with a left-handed throw on his 3-yard line, losing that game because of that. So I have the Colts probably scoring close to 30 points. I do think they get back to it, and I just don't believe in the Jets right now because that was their Super Bowl. I think there's a little bit of hangover.
Jeff, you believe in the Jets enough to hammer the over here?
No, I do not. I don't think that's a hot take. I think this line is set like really appropriately. I mean, I have also like Reed. I mean, I think I'm calling for like a 30-14 game, 31-14 game, which brings us, right around the game total of 46. But I don't want to rely on this Jets offense to get me like a garbage time score late in the game to push me to the overside. I get it. Mike White played well. Corey Davis still banged up. If he was 100% healthy, I'd probably be a little bit more bullish in the spot because the Colts secondary, it's still not that good. You can definitely pass on the Colts, but do the Jets really have the personnel to take advantage of it? Like, I don't think they do. I think the Colts probably play a little bit of ball control. They just try and secure the win. Like Reed said, they do everything they can to stop Carson Wentz from going full Carson Wentz. So, give me the under here.
All right, guys, let's head now to two teams.
Whoa.
Well, hold on. Pierce, go ahead. I'm sorry. I had a brain fart.
Holy cow.
I know.
Wow.
I know. This is bad. What I was doing is I was actually preparing a tweet to promote this show. Now I hope no one watches the last 20 seconds of it. Pierce, what do you think for this one?
Okay, well, while I talk, you can do that tweet and just
Thank
ignore
you.
me. I will take the under as well in this. The Colts' best run defense in football. This is week 9, so it's a real deal. And then if you're looking at the metric to say, oh, well, their pass defense is 20th in DVOA, well, that's just kind of a symptom of the way that they play. They don't mind giving you yards. They don't mind allowing you to throw the ball underneath. They just try to prevent touchdowns, although they've given up way too many passing touchdowns this season. I just don't see Mike White getting a lot of passing touchdowns. I could see him going underneath and moving the ball, but that's also going to work a lot of clock, and that's if it works. So, yes, their pass defense looks bad on paper, but that's what they want to do. They stop the run. They'll give you these dink passes. It's a bend but don't break type of defense. And like Reed mentioned, this is an overreaction to the Jets winning their Super Bowl last week. They got really lucky. They're not going to get lucky again.
Okay, tweet has been sent, everybody. Now let's go to Vikings visiting Baltimore, a couple teams that wear purple here. Over or under 50 points, Pierce?
I believe both of the purple teams will score plenty of points. Lamar Jackson off the bye, coming off that beat down. We should see Jackson and the Ravens look like the 30-point per team or 30-point per game team that we saw before. Also, the Ravens defense, we've been saying this all season, it's not that good. There's this aura around them that people think, oh, Ravens defense, it's good. They were average at best last season. This season, they've been below average by many metrics. Some people will point, oh, but they shut out the Chargers. Well, how does that look now? How does that win over the Chargers really look in the rearview mirror? Ravens defense is not very good. The Vikings have a pretty decent pass defense, but this is a different type of pass that they have to stop. I think that Jackson and the Ravens will be able to move the ball, and they also are going to be able to easily run against the Vikings. So both teams should be able to move and score the points here. Give me the over.
Death, taxes, and Pierce just hating on the Chargers. Reed T. Fowler, over or under 50 points in this one?
Yeah, I expect Pierce to be called on first for each question moving forward in this segment. I appreciate that. I'm going over as well. Like, the Vikings on the road are 5-0. So their defense does not travel well, right? Like, they just don't travel well. The over is 7-2, and this is part of the trends article that Pierce alluded to a couple of weeks ago that's going to come out on Thursday under the Reed T. Fowler name on DK Nation. But look, all the trends point to it, right? And like, if you want to go under and say like the Vikings have a middle of the pack run defense, and maybe Lamar Jackson, these guys just run all over the yard. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think if you're the Vikings, you've got to pass on this Ravens team. This Ravens team is strong against the run, not great against the pass, so I got the over.
All right, Jeff.
Like the over as well. So I guess we're all in agreement here, which is scary. But I do think that, 50 points is too low. I mean, we're talking about two good offenses here. We're talking about defense. I mean, look, the Vikings just allowed Cooper Rush to sling it all over the field with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. The Ravens just allowed Joe Mixon and Samaje Perine to run all over them. These are not good defenses. We have quarterbacks and offenses here that are going to win out with like Justin Jefferson, Lamar Jackson. So, yeah, I think all things considered 50. I'm actually surprised this one hasn't crept over it yet. I think you'll see it creep over even 51 by the end of the week. This is a good number to get on the over, though, still at flat 50.
Hey, two teams that wear red. This doesn't happen every week. Cardinals taking a trip to San Francisco. You got a total of 45 points. You want to go over or under that, Fowler?
Dang it. I can't wait for the last question lead in, but I'm going to go over. Kyler Murray is banged up, and this is why, right? This is a reaction. We talk about like how markets react to these things, and it's not it's a quarterback. It's Kyler Murray. It's one of the best in the NFL. But at 45, I think this is too low. Like, if he's out, if he's banged up, then yeah, of course you're going to lean towards this. But this is two NFL teams, and the Cardinals, all but two games, guys, they've scored over 30 points. The last Thursday against the Green Bay Packers, they did not look well. The Packers put a lot of pressure on Kyler. So if the Niners can do that, which they they're okay this season doing applying pressure to opposing quarterbacks, then yeah. But at the same time, I think all the trends that do point to the under, I'm going to buck those trends and look at the over here. And I think Kyler's going to be fine.
All right, Jeffrey, how about you, dude? Over or under?
It's a tough one to read for sure. I'm actually going to lean under here. I see a very similar game playing out to what Arizona played last week against Green Bay. This is a team who's really banged up. We saw when Kyler Murray was banged up and he didn't have his mobility last year, he was just a different player. I think San Francisco is going to come in here, dominate on the ground with Elijah Mitchell. I think they're going to take the arrow to the ball in this game, much like Green Bay did last week. We saw the formula for beating the Cardinals last week. I mean, the Packers, I know that things got crazy at the end of that game, but like the Packers should have won that by 2 scores. I mean, there is a formula out there, and Arizona, they're not healthy. Like even with the extended rest, Hopkins banged up, Murray banged up. How are they? This explosive offense, I just don't think is going to be there. San Francisco has some momentum. They found their lead back. I think they're going to run the ball a lot. And I know this game total sounds small for an offense that's been explosive like Arizona, but I just do not trust that the points are going to be there. So I'm going to lean under.
Pierce, can't forget you here, man. What do you think? Cardinals in San Francisco.
Yeah, this is going to go over. The points have been there all season, and Kyler Murray hasn't been that mobile. I understand that these guys are banged up, but if they're able to suit up, then they're able to play. If they weren't able of catching the passes and running downfield and scoring touchdowns, they wouldn't be out there. They'll be able to score against this team, as Reed mentioned already. 30 points in 5 games, and the 2 times they missed, yeah, they had a bad game against the Packers. They missed against San Francisco, which might be some bit of a concern, but they played well in that game. In the second half, it was just a couple 3-and-outs, and then San Francisco just controlled the ball. So the bigger problem, the biggest reason why they didn't score points was because Arizona's defense let them down, which is welcome. We hope that the Arizona defense, if we're playing the over here, lets them down again and allows San Francisco to score points. That's the only concern I have is San Francisco going to be able to score against Arizona? Arizona's defense has had good games, and they've had bad games. It just depends who's going to show up. I really don't doubt this Cardinals offense whatsoever.
Now to a house divided. Meg Muffin's Buffalo Bills traveling south to face America's team. Lotzia's losers, the Jacksonville Jaguars. This storied rivalry has a total of 49 points, most of which I'm sure will be scored by the Bills. Over or under, Jeff?
I mean, last week I picked the Bills in a similar spot to go over. The game played out, that the air was out of the ball a bit. Miami showed up for the first half. I don't think that's going to happen here. I'm going to go over 49 points. We have, again, it's not a division game for Buffalo this week. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars fresh off allowing 31 points to Geno Smith. There's really not much to say here. You know, you've got a full-fledged, fully healthy Buffalo Bills offense. Probably just going to be passing the ball all game because that's what they do. They're 6th in pass attempts versus a Jaguars team who still ranks first in pace of play for some reason because they feel that the more plays they run, the better chance they have.
Yep.
Which is pretty much the complete opposite of the truth. So, I do think this one is going to hit the over. We'll probably need a little bit of garbage time points from the Jaguars, but once the Bills hit 40, that should happen. So, give me the over.
Okay, Pierce. Over this, obviously, yeah?
No, I'm not. And I think Jeff kind of mentioned it there right at the end real quickly and just passed over it. You need the Jaguars to score some garbage points. No one doubts that the Bills can score 30, maybe even 40 points, despite the fact they didn't do it last week. But again, as Jeff said, they just pass all game long. They don't have a run attack, so they can put up the points. They could get 40 points, and this thing is still too high for me. I don't see the Jaguars scoring. The Texans in the same situation, put up a goose egg. The Dolphins, earlier this year, a goose egg. We need the Jaguars to score points, and I just don't see it against this Bills defense. I just don't. I don't see the garbage points coming. I think the Bills will get there, but the Jags are not going to do their part.
Reed, do you see the Jaguars scoring enough points to take the over here?
I don't.
Okay.
I get what Jeff is mentioning too, and these guys, these 2 teams, the over is 6-1 their last 7 meetings. Having said that, though, this is Urban Meyer against Brian Daboll against Sean McDermott. That's not even close. These 2 organizations and these 2 coaching staffs aren't even close. You had Carlos Hyde. Look, Jeff mentioned the pace of play towards the end, especially in the fourth quarter. These guys still run the ball. When they're down by 30 points, James Robinson, Carlos Hyde, Dario Ogunbowale, they're still getting the ball more times than not for God knows what reason, right? And again, I get it. The game is out of hand, so might as well try and get some of your schemes ready. But there's no chance. The Bills might score 40, and the Jags might score 3.
A couple of non-believers here, Emerson.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
100%.
ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous.
It's great when DraftKings Twitter
You see
account
Trevor
says.
Lawrence's hair read. Of course, he's going to get 20
Yeah,
points.
did we see the DraftKings account though trolling Emerson,
Dude,
saying that the Jags
can we-
might move to London?
Hey, real serious though. Like, why do they keep doing that? Why do they keep poking fun at the Jaguars?
voting.
There's other things to poke fun of.
If you were a true Jaguars fan, you would want the move. They're great across the pond.
Yeah, they are. They're 4-4. Like that's not bad. Like I'd take that right now. I'd take them being 4-4. But all right, we'll dive much more into this game. We'll probably spend most of the time on the slate today, Reed and Jeff, talking about the Bills and Jaguars. So I expect us to have a ginormous audience. But that is at 5 o'clock, everybody. Thursday or a Wednesday edition of the slate. We'll talk Thursday Night Football. We'll look at the Sunday slate. We'll also talk about the Worldwide Technology Championship. And speaking of that, by the way, Pierce, see you later. Thanks for being here. Speaking of that golf tournament, here's Jason Sobel's preview of the latest stop on the PGA Tour.
Well, we've got the Worldwide Technology Championship on the way in Mexico, and we are coming to you from the World Wide Web here, the internet. Adam Kaufman, Jason Sobel, of course, Action Network. Jason, how are you, man?
I'm doing great. Ready for another week of golf. Let's attack this thing.
Let's get into it here. Now, some of the favorites on the DraftKings Sportsbook, of course, you look at the top of the list, you have Justin Thomas, Abraham Answer, but then gets interesting, right? You go to number 3, you have Victor Hovland, who is the defending champ on this course at this tourney. It's difficult to repeat in these tournaments. We know that. That being said, do you like those other two guys I mentioned better, or are you good on Hovland?
Adam, I like all three of those guys. They're all high ceiling plays. I think they're all capable of winning this golf tournament. I probably go JT and Answer a little above Hovland. I'll knock Hovland down just a little bit, but I mean, the guy won here last year, and he's a much better player, a more improved, more mature player than he was a year ago. So he can certainly win this one again. Abraham Answer's record is really, really strong here, and I have a feeling that once he got that monkey off his back in August, he won the WGC FedEx St. Jude in Memphis. And now that he's got a PGA Tour win on his resume, I think that, look, there are no floodgates in the game. It's not as if he's going to go win 6, 7, 8 times this season. But I do think that it's going to be easier for him to win now that he's got that one. So I do like Abraham Answer a lot here. He's been 21st or better in 4 starts at this golf tournament. But Justin Thomas, don't overlook him. I know he's the tournament favorite. I know a lot of times we just look at the favorite and say, well, I'm not going to bet the favorite. He's 10-1, 11-1 on DraftKings board right now. But look, he is Justin Thomas, and at any given moment, he can turn things on. Has a nice record here. Shot, I believe, a 62, 63 on moving day at this one last year. So certainly capable of having a great week and putting it all together.
Jason, I don't want to overlook winners in general, which brings me to Tony Fenow, plus 2,000 odds. Now, he won the CJ Cup a couple weeks back, hasn't golfed in a couple weeks, so he's got a little bit of a layoff built in there as well, obviously. Is he someone that is deserving of having the 4th best odds to win this tournament?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tony Fenow is about to move himself into a little bit of a higher echelon. I mean, he's already a top 20, top 15 player in the world, but he could be a top 5 player by the time this season is over at the end of August of 22. So I do think he's certainly worthy of that number, and he's played well here in the past. He's got a 7th, an 8th, and a 16th in 5 starts at Mayakoba. I've, for a long time, Adam, put Fenow sort of in the same boat as Answer, 2 guys who struggled to win on the PGA Tour for so long, even though Fenow had that one alternate field victory 5.5 years ago. But now that he's won as well, won a playoff event at the Northern Trust just a couple of weeks after Answer, I again put them in the same boat of guys who, okay, monkey off the back, and now he can go out there and play some more, I think carefree golf just a little bit, knowing that he can rely on his skills. He knows he can win when it comes down to it on Sunday. So again, I hate to just say that I like all these guys at the top of the board, but Tony Finau is another guy that I really like a lot. I think his floor is as high as anybody else out there this week. And the ceiling, of course, is right there as well.
Well, then I've got to give you some other guys that you might like here. And staying in the high 2000s on the DraftKings Sportsbook, right after Finau, you have Brooks Koepka, you have Scottie Scheffler, you have Cameron Tringale as well. If you had to pick one, or maybe it's all of them, I mean, who do you like best?
I'm probably fading all 3 of those, and I don't feel great about it. Scottie Scheffler is coming off shooting a number in the 50s at Royal Oaks, his home course in Dallas just a couple days ago. So he is certainly primed and ready to have a nice week, still looking for that first PGA Tour victory. And this time of year, Adam, I'm looking for guys that might have strokes gain motivation on their side. I know we can't go to the PGA Tour website and look that up necessarily, but I'm looking for players that might be a little hungrier than some of their peers who haven't quite done exactly what they've wanted to this year. It's been, don't get me wrong, a fantastic year for Scottie Scheffler, but again, still seeking that first career PGA Tour victory. So this might be a little bit more of a business trip for him than it is for some other guys. So I do like him. I like all those players, but quite frankly, when we look at the top of the board, I'll take those top guys and I'll find some more value in the mid tier and the lower tier, as opposed to going after some of these players you just mentioned.
It is a pretty solid field overall here for this tournament in Mexico. And you look up and down that list and I mean, you could scroll down to Justin Rose at plus 6,000. You have plenty of familiar names. If you had some favorite long shots, who are they?
Well, the long shots, I like guys in the mid tier. Depends how long we want to get with our long shots. But a guy like Maverick McNeely, again, much like Victor Hovland, where I said his game has matured over the past year, Maverick McNeely has become much more comfortable as a PGA Tour player over the last 12 months. He's got a couple of top 25 finishes here already, plays really well on shorter golf courses. I like him. Emiliano Griot has a really nice record at this event. Joel Damon has a nice record here. Jonathan Vegas has played so well, top 25 finishes in 6 of his last 9 starts. He's been playing really well. Brian Harman is a guy who surprisingly does not have a good record. No top 25 finishes in 8 career starts at Mayakoba, and yet he's 80-1 on the board. That feels like a really big number for Brian Harman, who I think is going to win something fairly soon on the PGA Tour. So again, I think there's a lot of value, that sort of mid-ish tier, let's say 50 or 60-1 down to 100-1. I think there's a whole lot of value there.
You mentioned not being a huge fan this week of Koepka, of Scheffler, of Tringale as well. How about somebody that you are just outright fading?
Well, I don't feel good about this one either, but Will Zalatorius, I think we all watched him at last year's U.S. Open, at the Masters earlier this year, and we said, okay, this kid has got all the tools, and he does. He's really, really talented. Now, there are a couple of ways of looking at this, and I did this on my podcast with Justin Ray for the Action Network this week. We talked about Will, and Justin made the point that, hey, he's finished in the top 15 in 2 starts so far in this fall part of the schedule, the early part of the season. I said, yeah, that's true. I also pointed out that he's only got 1 top 10 in his last 11 starts and 2 top 10s since that runner-up finish at the Masters in April. So the stats don't lie, but they can distort the truth depending on which way you want to go with it. All of that said, I think the price is decent on Zalatoris, but I'm not sure he's quite there with his game where he needs to be right now. I'm bullish on him long-term, but I'm probably staying away this week.
Jason, who is going to win the Worldwide Technology Championship?
I go back to that strokes gain motivation category that doesn't really exist, that I kind of made up. But I'm looking for players that haven't gotten as much out of their game as far as the results this year as they should have. Shane Lowry has been one of the better ball strikers on tour throughout most of the summer and into the fall. He's got a great short game, great hands around the greens, but he doesn't have anything better than a 4th place finish this year. And so I feel like he's played such good golf, but hasn't quite gotten that 4-round stretch of brilliance at any one week that maybe he kind of deserves a little bit. So I do think, again, I'm looking at guys who are hungry, looking at guys who are inspired, guys who are motivated a little bit. And I would think that Shane Lowry can look at this one and say, okay, I know it's the early part of the 21-22 season, but it's still part of the 2021 year. And I think most players are looking at it that way. And I think Shane Lowry can look at this one and say, you know what? I need a win before the year is over. And I do think that motivation is going to play well this week. And again, he's hitting the ball really well, plays well on shorter coastal golf courses. So should be a good fit for Shane Lowry.
Well, another championship for Titletown as the Boston Braves of Atlanta are World Series champions again. And now that the last obstacle has been cleared, the Braves can forever proudly remember the year they overcame significant loss, slayed the Atlanta narrative, and celebrated what might be the most satisfying World Series title in its franchise history. Let's talk about it here a little bit and look ahead to 2022 with our MLB panel, DraftKings contributors Nick Fryer and Gary and Thorne. Gare Bear, hoisting the trophy here for the first time since 1995. taking down the Astros in Game 6, I mean, they just annihilated them. Do you feel that they were the best team, or at least one of them this season, or was this more of lightning in a bottle?
I mean, they were the best team in the playoffs, so that's all that really matters. Were they the best team throughout 2021? No. That was the Dodgers or the Giants or even the Astros, if we're being perfectly honest. I will say the Braves' expected win-loss record, much better than their actual win-loss record. People are going to harp on the, oh my God, a team with only 88 wins won the World Series. They were 94-68 by expected win-loss, which again, that's not real, but it does suggest that they played the regular season at a capability higher than an 88-win team. Like you said, they overcame massive amounts of injury. I think for the next 20 years at every trade deadline, every fan base of every team that's hovering around 500 is going to go, yeah, but remember when the Braves went out and got a bunch of like slightly above replacement level players to replace Ronald Acuna and then won the World Series? So that's going to be a really fun and really annoying discussion we'll get to have every single year. Look, I respect what they were able to do. Like I said, they were the best team in the playoffs. That's what matters, but they weren't the best team in baseball this season. That was some team that was either the Dodgers or the Giants.
Okay, Fryer, you believe the best team won here. Atlanta did overcome a boatload of injuries in nearly 4 months of 500 baseball.
So look, when you talk about the fact that Acuna, of course, you lose him. Yep. I know it's not, basketball or football necessarily where like you lose your best player and then you have no shot. Clearly, the Braves proved that, but that's a pretty major obstacle to overcome. And I know Garion highlighted that already. But where I differ with Garion on this is, so the Giants and the Dodgers were the better teams in the regular season. But when we're talking about the best team winning, the best team ends up winning the World Series. I understand the regular season matters and all that stuff. I don't want to denounce that or anything, but the team that ends up winning the whole thing, to me, is the best team. So I'm not going to go and give the Dodgers credit when they couldn't, or the Giants for that matter, when they couldn't get out of the NLDS. I understand those two teams were too good to be facing off in the NLDS. But the Astros, great. Yeah, they had a great season and everything. But I still got to go with the Braves at the end of all. So I say the Braves are the best team. They won the whole damn thing. They overcame a huge loss. So I think that they deserve that title in addition to the World Series title that they got now.
And the Braves won the day that Acuna was injured, too. They improved their record to 44-44 that day. Their postseason odds at that time were under 9% chance of making the postseason. I mean, it's pretty impressive, like, what they did. You probably couldn't name a single guy in the outfield there for, like, a small stretch of the season. Jorge Soler, though, hey, everyone knows his name because he just won World Series MVP. He was plus 3,500 to win the award at the start of the series. Was he deserving of this in your mind, Nick, or would you have chosen someone else? That home run he hit last night still hasn't landed.
No, I hit that thing to Mars, and I absolutely would have chosen him. I don't think anybody can say otherwise. I mean, when you look at the numbers, actually, before I go into the numbers, I do want to give one of our coworkers credit. Julian Edlow was on Soler.
You don't have to do that.
I know some people like to bash, Julian on here, Steve, and I'm, the opposite of that. I want to give him credit. I know he thought it was either going to be Jock or Soler, and he got Soler right on that one. So good for Jules. Anyways, though, when you look at what he did, of course, he started off the World Series with a home run. He essentially ended the Astros in Game 6 with just that 3-run home run alone. All totaled, he had 3 home runs, which led the series. He also had a double, one of 4 players to hit 300. I know we don't talk about batting average a lot when we're breaking down things, but when I look back on it, I do care about that a little bit. And then he tied Duvall for most RBIs in the series with 6-2. So I don't know how you can go with anybody else in this.
I mean, Gary, could you go with anybody else? 6 RBIs, 3 homers, 6th player with 3 go-ahead taters in a single World Series here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key point. If you want to look beyond the surface statistics, which, I think that's fine if that's the way you want to solve these things. Look, he had an amazing series. His win probability added for this series was insanity. Like, when you compare it to every other player who took the field across those 6 games, it wasn't even close. He was essentially like 400% more important than any other player by that particular metric. That's how much a go-ahead home run can kind of change the perception of a player and a game. So Soler had to win this. I will give a quick shout out to Freddy Freeman, who had a 996 OPS in this series. Like, under most circumstances, when your best player performs like that, especially with the narrative, maybe it was his last game in Atlanta, like, it would have been a fitting way to kind of wrap things up, although he did win MVP last season. in the National League. So it's not like he's going home empty-handed with the World Series trophy as well. I will also give a quick shout out to Jules.
Whoa.
Just because it is incredible that someone who does not watch any baseball ever has now gotten 30-1 MVP World Series odds 2 of the last 4 years. It's stunning. It honestly is.
All right, guys, we got the rest of the week here to talk about some future odds. We are running a little tight on time. So just tell me, as you look on the DraftKings Sportsbook, let's take a look at some long shots. You got an early long shot you like to win it all next year, Garion?
I would say automatically the Rays 16-1. They are always undervalued. They are always a good team. It doesn't even matter who's on that 26-man roster. And also, not to sound too much like Steve Buchanan, Mariners at 40-1.
Yeah.
The Athletics have basically already said we're going full cheapo mode this year. That leaves just the Astros, really, in the American League West. I think the Mariners are actually going to spend some money this year. And if they do, if they bring in a big-time free agent addition in January or February, this number is going to be 25 or 30-1 before first pitch in April. So I would hop on it now if you have any faith in Jerry DiPoto to do anything this
Yeah.
week.
I love that. They're trying to turn the corner, and at times this season they looked ahead of schedule. Maybe they do spend to kind of speed up the timeline there. Nick, what about you? You like a long shot here in the DK Sportsbook?
I was going to make a joke about the Mariners, actually, but I do agree with Gary and that is, because I know Steve's all over Seattle and everything. But the other one for me is the Red Sox at 16-1 as well. I understand with the Rays, every year they seem to be in it no matter who's on their roster. But the Red Sox, too, where they tore things down, it seemed like when they got rid of Mookie Betts, as much as they still had talent there, it seemed like they were mailing it in, and they've kind of been ahead of schedule with Chaim Bloom. And, I know they sputtered out at the end against the Astros, but they weren't that far away from getting all the way. You're going to get Chris Sale back next year. You got to imagine that they're going to make some adjustments with that roster for the better, as much as you may lose a guy like Schwarber or someone. But I think that the Red Sox at 16-1 too, given how they surprised everybody this year and then were resilient, after they had some hiccups, significant hiccups throughout the season. And again, 16-1, I think that's a good pick as well.
All right, guys, that's it. We still got hockey and golf to discuss, but first, who to build your NBA lineups around right after this break. There are basketball games to be played tonight in the association, and we have a panel here to discuss them. DraftKings contributor Kenny Ducey and Matt Meiselman. Gentlemen, building blocks, that is this segment. Favorite DFS plays at the following positions. Those little finger guns, little Shooter McGavin action there, Kenny Ducey. Who are you building around at guard, dude?
Yeah, because I'm really excited about this segment because yesterday we did building blocks and I wanted to spend so much money. This is the segment where you talk about those high-priced options that are going to dominate the slate. And for me, that's Stephen Curry at 11.1K. He shoots 2% better at home, so already I think you're off to a pretty good start. And the Hornets are a very, very good defense to attack. They're 25th in defensive efficiency. They're also top 5 in pace. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, a game where Steph Curry shoots well. He's had a plenty of rest here. The Warriors last played on October 30th. And against a bad defense and a bad perimeter defending team, I think that he should be able to get it done. And the usage, again, is going to continue to be there as long as Klay Thompson is not on the floor.
Meiselman, 11 games on this slate. Which guard are you building around?
Yeah, so this is the caveat to start every show with. We don't have a lot of news yet, but we may get it later in the day. So as of now, it's going to be a little bit difficult to spend a ton on some of these high-priced guys. For now, I think Fred VanVleet is a really good option at 8,500. Scotty Barnes has been overshadowing him a little bit so far this season, which is a little bit weird to say, but Barnes is out right now. He's been dealing with an injury the last couple games. Assuming he's still not playing tonight against the Wizards, it's a good spot for VanVleet. I think the usage goes up without Barnes in there. And this is probably just a price that's a little too low for him in general with Kyle Lowry now on the Heat. and Pascal Siakam's still hurt too. So this is kind of his team right now.
Matty, what about at forward, dude?
So I think at forward, I just had to check again to make sure I have this position right, because I thought Malik Beasley was a forward, but now I'm going to have to pick someone different. I'm going to go with Kevin Durant. I still think that James Harden may be having a little bit of a difficult time adjusting to these rule changes. I'm not sure if that's the total reason to buy into this, but I am just basically giving the opposite pick of what I just said there, where let's assume that we do get some news later in the day. Durant is really expensive, and I think like he has the upside that some other players just don't have. The Hawks matchup may not seem very appealing. The price tag at $10,800 may not seem appealing. So this is a little bit different of an angle, but from a contrarian perspective, I just don't think a lot of people are going to pay up for Kevin Durant today. I think that Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, probably more popular players. So I like Durant.
Young Kenneth, what about you?
Yeah, I'm going to pay up for Paul George here at 10.9K. He's got back-to-back 60 fantasy point games, and the matchup here for the Clippers, pretty good. The Timberwolves, 25th in defensive efficiency. I know I just said that about the Hornets, so clearly I'm lying about one of those teams, but you can trust me that they're both in the bottom 7. And both of these teams are in the top 8 in pace as well. When you want to talk about a guy who is the guy for his team, there's still no Marcus Morris and Serge Ibaka for the Clippers. The usage for Paul George has been absolutely insane. 42.6% against Portland over the weekend was just bonkers. This guy's getting a lot of the basketball. He's shooting a ton, and he should match up here against Anthony Edwards, who is sort of a suspect defender in his early career, very talented on the offensive end, still trying to work on his defense. I think Paul George takes a lot of shots here against a weak Timberwolves defense. He gets it done.
Kenny, who's your building block at the 5? Big, beefy dude who plays center.
Yeah, it's got to be Domantas Sabonis here at 10.1K. I know that I actually do like the Knicks in this game, but Sabonis should have an easy go of it inside. You look at the Knicks' interior defense inside of 10 feet. They've actually allowed 0.8% more on the field goal looks inside of 10 feet over their last 2 games, and they carry a 115 defensive efficiency or worse in those last 2 games as well. So the interior for the Knicks is broken down a little bit. The rebounding rate is down, and Taj Gibson is questionable for this game, along with Nerlens Noel, who's been questionable for most of the year. That could really hurt the Knicks' interior defense. I think Sabonis is able to operate down low and score a bunch. I like him at forward. I like him at center. I like a lot of high-priced options here. But if I got to pick one guy to spend up on, I think it's Sabonis.
Matt?
So this is another play. We're going to stick to the same theme where you have guys who have usage increases because of injuries on their teams. Jonas Valanciunas was already having a really good season. And now with Brandon Ingram out of the lineup, there's just like the whole offense is running through him. He did well last night against the Suns, and I think he can do well again tonight against the Kings. Like, this is probably a decent matchup for him. The Kings still play at a pretty fast pace. And this really, I think, is just when players are out, you see most people look to their backups, and that does make a lot of sense. But other players in the starting lineup benefit too when there's high volume shooters not playing. So I think Valanciunas is in that situation.
Matt, if anyone watching is brave enough to build around a value play, who are you going to go with?
So I think as of now, Beasley is that guy. D'Angelo Russell is hurt. So Minnesota, there's just a lot that opens up there. But Russell, he may not be that great of a player at this point in his career, but he is someone who shoots a ton. So Beasley's cheap. He's probably the direct beneficiary there. I'm sure he'll be popular. I think that this is going to be a pretty obvious play for most people. But again, this is early in the day, so who knows what happens. The NBA has been pretty weird so far this season. As of now, though, I think he is the obvious cheap guy to go with.
Kenny.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Svi Mikhailuk. I know that, Matt talked about the way that the Raptors are currently hurting in the injury department. No Scotty Barnes or Yuta Watanabe or Pascal Siakam still. Look, I mean, someone's got to shoot the ball here, right? Mikhailuk got a ton of minutes here against the Knicks, 35 minutes, got plenty of shots up as well. I think that he is pretty talented on the offensive end. When he at least gets the ball, he can shoot. $3,700 here in a decent matchup against another foe here. I think that he can certainly be a guy that I want to build around on the value department, because there's not a lot of injury news right now, but the injury news we do have is that the Raptors are currently just a walking crutch. So I like Mikhailuk.
Thanks, guys. That's all the time we have. Favorite plays on the ice and on the links with Len Hochberg coming up after this. All right, everybody, we're going to get right to it. We are talking favorite NHL plays tonight, and we got two fantastic dudes here to do it. RotoWire's AJ Scholes and Paul Bruno. Favorite play at center as we begin our opening face-off segment. AJ.
I just don't see how you can get away from using Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl. They're first and second in the league in points with matching 6-goal totals. For me, I save the $1,000 and go with Draisaitl. Eventually, they're going to face somebody worth fading them in a GPP, but that certainly isn't the case against Nashville, especially when you consider Connor Ingram is expected to start in what will be just his second NHL game and the second game of a back-to-back as well. This has all the makings of a big Edmonton stack tonight.
Paul, saving or spending here?
You know what? I have to agree with AJ, but if you want to make the case for an alternate, consider that McDavid's facing a club that's playing pretty well defensively. They've only allowed 7 goals in 4 games, so that may cause me to pivot away from both those centers in this Music City matchup. Instead of the Edmonton captain and his running mate, I would recommend Nate McKinnon, who has 9 points in 6 games and costs $8,400 tonight. He faces a Columbus club that's been loose defensively in recent games on their current road trip as well. This home matchup gives McKinnon the usual home ice advantages against lesser defensive players.
Paul, what about your favorite play at wing?
On the wing, I go to the St. Louis-LA game, and I look at David Perron, who's already got 6 goals and 9 points in 7 games played so far. The Kings will be without, arguably, their 2 best blue liners in Drew Doughty and Sean Walker, so I think the Blues offense, which has been pretty solid in the early going, has a chance to pile on tonight, and Perron should be a big part of that for $6,300. In fact, I might like to stack the Blues tonight with that favorable matchup, and I'm also considering Jordan Kyrou, who has 9 points in 7 games and will cost only $5,300. So a Blues stack looks likely for me.
All right, AJ, how about you, dude?
Well, I tip my hand with the Edmonton stack, so I'll go back to the Oilers here and look at Zach Hyman for $5,900 tonight. He's just 1 goal behind the dynamic duo here, and 3 of his 6 tallies have been scored with the man advantage playing on that top group. He's lining up on McDavid left, which actually has translated more into goals for him than assists, as you might expect. So Zach Hyman is the way to go for me.
Favorite play back on the blue line, AJ?
To start the year, the Kings power play actually hasn't been too bad with a 23.5% conversion rate. They've gone 4 of 11 in their last 2 games with the man advantage here. Walker and Doughty are both sidelined, and it's Cale Clegg who has stepped in to fill that power play role. He's logged over 10 minutes of power play ice time over the last 2 games. He's scored 2 assists in that role as well, and he's going to cost you a pittance at just $2,900 tonight.
Paul, need a defenseman.
I know I made the case for fading McDavid, but I'm going to use Tyson Berry from the Oilers blue line. He was the top power play quarterback last year, leading the league in scoring among defensemen. And the power play has been on fire. We know that. So plug him in for the relatively modest amount of $4,700. Alternatively, I also like Tony DeAngelo, who's fit in nicely on the Carolina juggernaut. He's quarterback of their power play, has 9 points and 19 shots in only 8 games played. He's in a good spot to add to those totals against a vulnerable Chicago team, and that will cost you $5,200.
Paul, bring us home with your favorite bet tonight.
I head to the alternate total goals prop to hit the over of 7.5 in the matchup in Chicago against Chicago. I know the Canes are a great all-around team with a prolific offense, but the best thing about the Hawks is their offense as well, and that's capable of making this a high-scoring affair. I expect that to be the case, and that'll pay at plus 270 tonight. Similarly, I also like the offensive possibilities in Colorado. They should win convincingly, but I might use they might use their backup goalie here and figure he'll give up a few as well. Take the over 6.5 payoff for a plus 135 win on that alternate goal prop.
AJ, hook me up with your bat, dude.
Well, you guys are going to think I'm Jeff here with all these Edmonton takes, but I say don't get fancy tonight. Like, just consider running the table with Edmonton and taking Draisaitl, McDavid, and Hyman each to score a goal here. You'll get the best odds on the DK Sportsbook with Hyman at plus 165 to score, but there's no reason that this entire trio can't find the back of the net.
All right, guys, that's it. One more break to go, one more block to go. Len Hochberg joining us to talk about the PGA Tour's latest stop. A tradition unlike any other here on The Sweat every Wednesday, everybody. RotoWire's Len Hochberg, the golf guru. What's up, dude? How are you, man?
Just happy to be here, and as always, loving the fact that even though there's baseball, golf, basketball, whatever on this show, you're wearing a PGA shirt, so keep it up. Love it.
Thanks, man. I do it for you, Len. PGA price check. You got to do this for us. Your favorite plays, the following salary ranges for this week's Worldwide Technology Championship in Mayakoba. So a new sponsor, but same location, same playing format. 10K or higher. Who are you going to spend up for?
Yeah, it's got a new name, but it's the same tournament, and there are a lot of horses for the course at this tournament. Guys come back year after year and play well here. They all can't play well every year, can they? But one guy who does, and I think will do it again, is Abraham Answer, $10,700. He's now up to like top 15. I think he's 14th in the world right now, just playing better every year. Top 25 the last 4 years here, top 10 2 of those years. Incredible pressure for him to come and play in Mexico, much like Hideki Matsuyama in Japan. Matsuyama won in Japan. Answer hasn't done it quite yet, but he has shown that he can handle the pressure, and that is not an easy thing when the entire country is looking at you to represent them this 1 week out of the year. Answer delivers every year at this tournament.
Yeah, 7th appearance for him here, but this is his first one as a PGA Tour winner. So maybe that takes like a little bit of the pressure off for him. What about the 9K range here?
Yeah, here's a name I give you just about every week of late, Aaron Wise. Aaron Wise finished last season very strongly, come out starting great this season. Top 10s his last 2 starts. He is really almost an elite golfer. Tee to green, really has trouble putting. I mean, he was outside the top 150 in putting last year, but this year he's inside the top 100. He's putting much better, and he also is the runner-up from last year at this tournament to Victor Hovland. I like him $9,600.
Yeah, and he's 9th on tour this season in birdie average, so that's pretty big considering a tournament that the winner could most likely be around 20 under or so. $8,000 range. Take us there, Len.
You know, a lot of people are talking about Russell Henley at $8,200 this week, and I do like Henley. He is I expect him to do well, but I'm going to give you another name that might not be as common out there, $8,700, Sergio Garcia. Garcia has not played this tournament before, but that is not a deal breaker. We've seen first-timers come and play well here. We've seen first-timers win here. An elite ball striker. I mean, just about every pick I'm going to give you is elite ball striker, elite ball striker. That's what Mayakoba is all about. Garcia, terrible putter. We all know it, but these sort of funky paspalum grass greens can be a bit of an equalizer for him, level the playing field. I think he can do well at $8,700.
Is he still putting with his eyes closed?
He's done it on occasion. I don't think he's made a habit of it.
Okay.
But, not a bad plan. Not a bad plan.
I mean, whatever works, right? Whatever wins you millions and millions of dollars playing golf. $7,000 range, Mr. Hochberg.
Yeah, another local guy, Carlos Ortiz, $7,600 is popular, but I'm going to expand here on $7,500, Emiliano Griot. He must circle this week on his calendar every year. The last 5 years, 3 top 10s, another top 15. He's not had a great year, but another great iron player. He tends to do well on the shorter courses, does not have many top 10s this year, but his top 10s are at Colonial, Harbor Town, Punta Cana, shorter tracks. He's also pretty high up last season in birdie average, top 30 in birdie average. Not bad for a guy who can't putt.
Yeah, led outright too after 36 and 54 holes here last year, Len. So 5 for 5 in Mayakoba in his career. Under 7K, save some cash, but give me someone who can score some points for our fantasy lineups.
You know, here are 2 guys I haven't heard them mention too much this week. Charles Howell III. He's now 42 years old and 200th in the world, so things are not going well for him. But that does not sound like a $6,900 golfer, but he is $6,900 because he does find some tracks where he does play well, and he has played well here. Top 25s, 5 of the past 6 years at Mayakoba. Charles Howell can deliver in certain places. And now someone even older than Charles Howell, 45-year-old Rory Sabatini, did not have a great year, but, you know, he seemed to found a new gear when he was at the Olympics, finished with the silver medal. He's come out strong at the start of this season, 3rd at the Shriners. He's made the cut 7 of the past 8 years at Mayakoba, $6,700 on Rory Sabatini.
Yeah, 5 of 6 cuts made this season. Len Hochberg, thanks, man. We got through the whole segment with you. We're usually so tight on time. It's great to talk to you here, not be in a rush.
Yeah, you know, it's a new thing here coming up at the tail end of the show, and you know, I mean, I feel like I'm talking here, and we still got, you know, spread. We got time.
That's right. All right, my friend. Everyone, give him a follow on Twitter. He's great for all the golf information that you need. Len, we'll talk to you next week, dude. Everybody, do not forget, we will talk more golf today on a 5 o'clock edition, Wednesday edition of the Slate. Jeff will join me. Reed will join me. And we got a Madden Slate kicking off here on YouTube and Twitch in just a moment. Thanks for watching.